Hey there, welcome to this episode of the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. This one's a special one because I got a chance to spend some time, a fair amount of time, with a dear friend of mine, James Wedmore. And we had a chance to talk about the elements of what it takes to live a rich life, to create richness through a digital business. You know, if you've ever wanted to build a personal brand, if you ever wanted to create a coaching program, if you ever wanted to create an online product, James is the guy to understand it from. And we walk through some of the key elements and the key pitfalls, the things, the mistakes that people make that hold them back from hitting their dream level. And we kind of navigate that process. And we talk about what do you need to do next and give you some resources that you can go and make it happen at an accelerated pace. So enjoy this episode with James and I on the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. I'll see you in the episode. Hey there, James. So good to have you on the show once again. It's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me back. I guess it wasn't too bad. If it was that bad, I wouldn't have gotten a call back. So
no. And you're in your kind of your new studio there in Sedona and everything. And we just had a chance to hang out together, which was a ton of fun.
So, I know, isn't that great? Let's hang out in person and then go record virtually.
Yeah, we could have done this live, but what the heck? We're going to do this using technology. But we'll talk more about why we were hanging out at the end of the episode and some of that. So this is going to be fun. You know, every time y'all, as if you've watched any of the episodes with James, either on his show or my show, anytime we get together, clearly we don't know where we're going to go, and it just can go wherever for a little while. And but we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about wealth. We're going to talk about, you know, the things that you need to have in place to create a business by design, a life by design, and what it took for him, kind of the pathway that he took, the lessons that he's had. I've watched him go from basically multiple six figures to eight figures and what it took and the growth in there. So,
because he was spying on me down the street.
I was showing up at his office, just kind of like, you know, kidnapping him, and we're just going and hanging out.
Like there's that phrase, you know, keeping up with the Joneses next door. It was quite literally keeping up with the Abrahams. He gets a Tesla. I'm like, that SOB. Now I need one.
Yeah.
On and on it went. But it's been very awesome to have our journeys like near each other and coincide and be like so close and good friends along the way. We first got connected. When was that? 2015? Yeah, fall of 2015, I think it was.
I think it was 15. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're going on 8 years, dude.
Yeah, I know. If we would have had a kid, he'd be like in the like.
Yeah.
But
we'd be giving him keys to a car already. Yeah. We. This is the problem. You know, the people on live say the two of them need adult supervision constantly.
Absolutely, I wouldn't have it any other way. Exactly. This is the biggest sham, and really, I do say that about you. Like, we get along for many reasons. But I think the biggest of all, and is something that gives me hope for my own future, is you are the most mature person I've ever met in my life. next to me. And I think the secret to life, I think the secret to health and longevity and happiness is being a kid. And you have such a childlike energy in the sense of you don't take things too seriously. You always find a way to be fun. To have fun. You're never like needing to be somewhere else that you're not. I don't think I've ever heard you complain. Like truly, I complain about things more than you do. I don't think I've ever heard you utter a single complaint. You always have a smile on your face. And I think that's the secret. And I think that is so important. And I think we've just kind of mirrored each other in so much that way. And that needs to happen in our business. We need to be having fun in our business. I tell people all the time, if you're not having fun in business, you're either doing it wrong or you shouldn't be in business. And I think that is an important core value for me, but maybe it is for you, maybe it isn't, but I like to have fun and a good time, you know.
First, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, there's probably whole lot of people around me that might not appreciate that, but it's good to know that you do. But I think you're right. And it actually is core to even some of the things that we do and why we do them. We want to make a difference. We want to impact lives. We want to serve. We want to support. But if it's at the cost of the quality of our life, the fun, the joy, if at the end of the day I'm going, thank God that day's over. Now I'm not saying that we enjoy every minute of everything we do, but if the predominant feeling isn't joy and fun, why are we in the game? To make money?
Isn't it funny too? You definitely grew up in this more than I did, but we both grew up in an energy and a culture of like, pick the path that's going to make the money.
Yep.
And listen, that time is done, because today, more so than any time, and this isn't just like opportunity, this is just fact. People have found a way to make money doing anything. And that is pretty true. The opportunities that have compounded. And what makes me so happy about that is it used to be compartmentalized. Your happiness, your mental well-being, you know, and your passion and your hobbies were separate.
Very much so.
Your job, and you moonlight your hobby, you moonlight your purpose, you moonlight your happiness, and it's like that's baloney. And what I would say, especially if there was someone younger listening, is like, more so than ever, follow your heart, follow the thing that already feels fun and light, because I believe that is your soul, that is that higher aspect of yourself trying to lead you down what you're here to do, and leave it to Mel and I. And I'll just toot our own horns, because that's what we do, is toot our own horns all the time. We're the most humble, and we'll help you figure out how to make money with it. There's a way. There's always a way. And the logic is there. Like, I have a friend, I just reached out to her today, and during the pandemic, which there's so many pandemic businesses that popped up, she just started documenting her interior design journey of her own home. She's like bored. So now she's a freaking interior designer, but not just the traditional type. Like, she's the online influencer, you know, interior designer, where she's getting commissions off of what she recommends on like online products, e-commerce and stuff like that. And she's getting brand deals and all that type of stuff. And she's doing the consulting and interior design. And that all just started because during that time, she got really passionate about that. And now I'm hiring her to fix some things in my house, you know. And that's just how it's so exciting. So, well, this ain't our parents' world anymore, you know.
Well, it's not even my world anymore. You know, when I came up, there was a single path. You go get the education, you go get the degree, and there's this pathway. As an accountant, there was a pathway. You go to the firm, you become a manager, you become a partner, and then you're beholden to this journey the rest of your life. But I truly believe that we've been put here with a specific gift, or specific gifts, plural. And it's our duty to whatever universe you want to talk about, but it is our duty to the gift to bring it to life in whatever shape or form that is. And yet we tend to, for either safety reasons, for fear, for expectations of others, suppress the gifts and suppress our joy in the process.
And it's all baloney.
Yeah.
Nonsense. And that's the work. That's the process. You know, I've said for a very long time, and I use myself as that example, because that's what I'm always doing, is I'm looking at where my growth was and said, you know, what got me here? What attributed to this? And I've said for a very long time, your business is a reflection of you. So you grow, the business grows. And that tends to be the last place we look, you know? And don't get me wrong, I'm all about, you got to have the right strategy. I think Tony Robbins is the one who said you could head east all day, but you're never going to see a sunset, right? So you got to have the right strategy, but who's running the strategy? And when you're in a space like ours, like where you become a personal brand,
Yeah.
that's even bigger. And the work for all of us to do, and the invitation, and then, I don't know how far you want to go with this, is like all that stuff you're mentioning has to go. It has to go. And I noticed all of that stuff. I did not want it to go because we all love to hold on. So I'm even, when I got started, I was worried about what are my high school friends going to think of me, to what is that first hater going to say, to what is that person going to say when they refund, what are my competitors going to say? I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to say anything people aren't going to like, or they're going to be offended or upset or this and that and all of that. And it absolutely drops you in and keeps you in survival mode. And from survival mode, you're leaning back, and everything is about how do I not lose? How do I not do something wrong? How do I not make a mistake? How do I not fail? And then you end up doing the very things that you're worried you're trying to avoid, because you focus on that where your attention is. And when you start to realize, everyone's doing the best they can, including you. No one's perfect. Failure is inevitable. It's totally inevitable. I'm still waiting for the first entrepreneur on the planet to sit here and say, I got somewhere significant without any failures or mistakes. Can't happen. We spend so much time trying to avoid looking bad, avoiding the mistakes. And that's where you waste all your energy. And then you're tired, and you wonder why you're not inspired anymore, because you spent all day trying to avoid all that to survive, instead of just saying truly, and this is not an easy place to get to, but it is the place you will end up. And if you end up in this lifetime, you won the game. You won the game. There's a giant grand prize waiting for you at the finish line, which is none of it matters. None of it matters. What some stranger thinks of you versus the fact that you can have a roof over your head, provide for your family, be there with the time that you want to provide with them, do the things that you want to do, take them on the trips, do something that is making a difference in the world, or do whatever that negabot, hater, raid, complainer, stranger on the internet is saying about you. When you really put it into perspective, none of that noise, none of those concerns, none of those fears, none of that freaking matters. If you're having fun and you're helping people and you're making money doing like that, none of that stuff matters, right? Yeah. So that's the place to get to. That took me a really, really long time.
And for me, I know that there's times it's still a struggle when I'm trying to pivot, when I'm trying to shift, when I'm trying to change. And there's that creeping up of, should I do this? What, because it's easy to get comfortable. I could be comfortable the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. But I find that, one, I feel the best when I'm challenging myself and growing. I also feel that I serve the best when I'm challenging myself and growing. So I start to look at it and go, it's a win-win. And nothing I do, most everything I do is terminal. I mean, y'all, if you haven't heard the story, one of the first webinars I did, I was the talent in the tech. That was the first time I did it. I thought it was a webinar, and it was just my slides and my voice, and that's it. Turns out that the webcam was on, and I had no shirt on. So, and yet I still sold 30 grand worth of, that's when I had abs. 30 grand worth of stuff.
I think that's because you had a bonus of Mel's at-home workout as part of your
Huh?
How do I get those abs?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. They've done studies on this. It's totally been proven, but money is a very ineffective low form of motivation. Once people have enough, the same drive, and it's a different type of drive, does not exist when that's enough. And that will be, this is something, depending on where people are, you're either here now, which is the dangerous place, which we call no man's land, where you're not driven by those survival things. We've all been, or we will be eventually. It's kind of part of the hero's journey, that dark place, that dark night of the soul where it's like, I got to figure my out. I got to figure something out. And now is the time, and it's urgent and it's important. And I got to get serious. Those become blessings in our life because they kind of cause us to learn or pay attention to something we've been avoiding. And then you get through that. And if you go, some people, a lot of people, they get addicted to that.
Yeah.
And they will continue to put themselves back into those predicaments because it's the only way they know it's the only type of rocket fuel they know to propel themselves forward. And I've watched people self-sabotage and get into these repetitive patterns and cycles because they love who they are in those tough moments. But there's other types of rocket fuel, and instead of an away from motivation, where it's like, I need to move away from this crappy situation. Obviously, no man's land is when you're away from that, but you're not compelled or pulled toward or drawn towards something that is pulling you forward. And if you just stay in that middle, that's a dangerous place to be, because that's where like you get comfortable. That's where you settle. That's, and I love those cliches. It's cliche because it's true. It's like if you're not growing, you're dying. So let's just talk about the business, not us personally, but I guess every day we're getting closer to that. So there's a morbid, macabre thought for everybody. But drawing us, we're dying, we're all dying, but what's drawing us forward? And that gets to become something bigger, and it's usually bigger than us, and then that becomes more what people talk about when they talk about their purpose. And that was huge for me. That was the big thing that took me from 2 to 10 million, is that I had been in the fear of, I'm going to lose what I created. It was a fluke. It's just a matter of time. The shoes is going to drop. And I was putting my energy on that. I was feeding that. And I was focusing on it. And it put me in this dangerous self-preservation mode where I was just trying to preserve what I had. You can't grow that way. When I was able to recognize that, it just went to like, here's what I'm here to do. So let me just go do that. And it was like, how do we reach more people? How do we serve? How do we put the best events on? How do we put the best programs out there? How do we create the best case studies, testimonials, results? How do we create the best podcast? And that was just the focus. And that's where you hear those quotes, like, you get what you focus on. But so much of what we focus on, we are unaware of it because it's like unconscious to us. You didn't even realize feeding this fear. And then you wake up and you can't sleep at night because this thought's that's what you're focusing on, and you get what you focus on. And so the entrepreneur, the business owner, needs a vision. And we need to be focusing on that vision, an intentional, crafted, invented future vision. That's where we continue to put all of our attention. Because if you're not doing that, the default survival mode is going to pull you back into fear. And you got to train your brain to focus on what you want, not what it's going to, it's like worried that's going to happen. So it gets hooked by that. And we all are humans. So we all have to learn how to manage that,
Without a doubt. And I think that this kind of speaks to something that I've talked about with this idea of everything we need to do has to have an intentionality to it. There needs to be a deliberate choice. And we tend to make the mistake of getting into a flow of a current, whether that current is the societal expectations, media expectations, parental expectations, career expectations, and we just go along for a ride. And, Bronnie Ware in her 7 Regrets of Dying said that one of the biggest regrets as they lay on their deathbed in hospice was the realization that they lived a life that wasn't theirs. And I'm like, look, even if I create a business that is half as successful as I would have liked, it's still 50% more on the journey that I belong on than 100% of the journey I don't.
Yes, that's huge. And I understand the resistance that comes up for people because it's like, is it selfish? And I'll just say this, but it's what Mel was saying is just like, it's capital T truth. Like, who are you living for? Is this your life? Because you're the only one living it. There's other people in your life. But at the end of the day, it's It's you and it's your life. And no one else is ever going to live it. No one else is ever going to face the direct consequences of actions, of choices, of the effort, the work, everything. But here's something I know to be true. When I figured this one out, this was such a game changer. When there's this call to help people or be of service or whatnot, you start to get really fascinated about like, well, what are the ways in which you can help people that really create change? And I'll tell you this, for someone who has a podcast, who teaches and online programs and events and stuff, the number one way that I see that people learn from me is by modeling and just observing behavior. So when people are in that like objection or concern of like, it's hard to put me first in what I want to do in my life, understand that doing that helps the people you love and the people you care about and the people around you to do it as well, because you're showing them. It's a gift. And I've seen, because I am a very independent person. I love my family and my friends, but I'm also a very independent person, and that it inspires the crap out of them. They're like, James just always does what he wants to do. And there's just no ifs, ands, ors, or buts around it. And he's also there for us. It's not like a either or.
Right.
So that's a big one. That's if that's not there, I saw some quote that's going around Instagram right now, and it's like, it's just a guy saying something like, I've never met someone who put everyone first who is also happy. Yeah. And it's wonderful to be there of service. It's wonderful to be there for others, but you can't give when you got nothing yourself.
You truly have to take care of yourself first. And when it comes down to business, this becomes really important to think about. We're no good to someone if we're no good to ourselves first. And it's not about materialistic. It's about taking care of ourselves at a level that we can show up. You have a team. You have, a decent sized team. And everything. But when you look at it, and one of your team members, they're expecting a child and everything. So you got to look at it and realize that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and you have employees or team members or even contractors, there are families' lives depending on you being at the best you can be. And I think you have a responsibility to that.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a personal assistant, and I had to start that conversation by saying, look, I'm going to ask you things. And out of context, it's going to sound like I'm a freaking diva. And I want you to know where this is coming from, and that that's not what this is about. This is about the way that this business runs. There are certain things that only I can do. And the better I do them, the better we all win. And if I have these other things on my plate, then it takes away from that. And that actually affects everybody. And it's just all about everyone understanding their role and their function, and she knows that, because I don't like asking for things like that. Like, oh, will you pick up my dry cleaning? Like, oh my gosh, like, who are you, James? But
worst thing, I didn't even know you dry clean things.
I know, I was just a made up example. I just throw it away after a single use, I knew.
Now that's a diva.
But we're at a point where we're like, we might need a house manager, no joke. And there's just there's a lot I do in the business, and that's a big key distinction. And this is something that's hard to put into words, but I really want people to get it. I stay busy in the business, but there's a difference between being busy in the business from a place of it needs your busyness to run, versus a business that has a certain level of success that allows for other doors to open that you get to independently and freely choose which doors you walk into. For example, it is a joy that Mr. Abraham would say, I would love for you to come back onto my podcast. That takes physical time. There's no way around that. I can't have somebody else do it. So that becomes a joy of something I get to do. And so I stayed busy with a lot of those things, speaking at events and interviews and masterminds and whatnot that I get to do. And those are the things that keep me busy today. And so because I'm so busy with those things, like, oh my gosh, I could spend all week just like trying to manage the day-to-day things that obviously today I'm at a privilege where I don't have to. But I think that's also very important in the like person who stays busy in the business, doing the things that are just the prerequisites for it to like stay above water, and like chug along. And I get those things off my plate. I got those things off long ago. And people say, well, that's easier for you because you're making money. I say, no. I make money because I got those things off my plate.
I think this is a great point, and this is where we actually started to talk about this before we started recording. This idea of entrepreneur versus business owner, and how we start to look at things differently. And I would add another element, because I think I just finished a keynote, 2,000 people, and talked about the fact that we're actually on two parallel journeys as business owners, as entrepreneurs, and one is an earnings journey and the other is a money journey. And so there's a difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur. And I know that you and I tend to agree on it and how it's viewed. How do you see it? Because you've actually you have the characteristics of both, which I think for a lot of people it can be challenging to be able to straddle and move in both realms.
Yeah. I want to spend a good amount of time here because I think it's been coming up a lot for me, and I think it's a very relevant conversation. I think today everyone wants to be an entrepreneur and loves that title, and there's something very exciting about it. And there's this certain lifestyle that seems to be attached to it. Like part of the privilege that I have is working. What a blessing. I work with entrepreneurs at every level, like someone that's still trying to figure out their niche to people that are at $5 million and they're like, how do I double this? Yeah. And everywhere in between. And that's so awesome. But I only work with the online expert personal brand. So that's my bread and butter. I love working with those people. And the reality is like what I continue to see is a lot of them are really bad business owners. And I don't mean this disrespectfully, even though it kind of sounds disrespectful, but like they just bad business owners. And I think that's what gets a lot of these entrepreneurs into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Is bad business owners. And I'm going to make the case to say being a better business owner will give you a better lifestyle than the one that was promised to you when you were sold on the idea of being an entrepreneur. And I think we love this word and keep calling yourself an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter. We use a term in my world called the digital CEO, but the whole concept and premise is we got to learn how to actually run a business like a business. And I just see today with working with so many people, and they come in from every different area, and like, some have like learned from other marketer gurus and stuff like that, and some just figured out on their own and got to a certain level. And when I keep coming back to like, man, like this thing is like a house of cards or a sandcastle built at low tide, and it's like you're one bad launch away, you're one bad, or one great person leaving away from this whole thing crumbling, and busting at the seams, and you have to keep up this crazy ethic and work ethic and this like manic, nonstop, hands in everything, eyes on everything, balls in the air, hats on the head mentality to keep it going. And it's like, do you think that's sustainable? And there's something today that impresses me the most about someone who owns a business, and it's not the amount of money they make. It's not even the profit they make. This is relevant, but it's not what impresses me the most. What impresses me the most, what could impress me more than anything, is the consistency and longevity. Anybody can have a breakout year. Anybody
Absolutely.
can have a strong year where they make good profit as well. But show me someone that even if they keep it at that number or have consistent growth year after year after year after year. And that, my friends, is freaking rare. And it's especially rare in this space. I mean, it's almost like the music industry with people with their 15 minutes of fame. Someone's there and then gone. And nothing gets me like more excited today and passionate about everything that you and I both teach than that being the magic pill for you. That it's one thing, like, let's say someone says, like, I want to get my business to 300,000 a year. 300,000, and I don't mean this like, I remember when I was there, $300,000 a year in an online business isn't that much money. You know, if you had a 50% profit margin and you're, taking home before taxes 150,000, like, yes, you could sit there and say, oh, I'll go work, in a corporate exec position, and maybe that's what I make there. I don't know. I don't know how much people make today in jobs, right? But it's good money. And if you could maintain that, and I don't know what your thoughts are on it, because you're the expert on this, but this is just like what my perspective has been. You just look at that isolated on 1 year, that's one thing. But I wonder what changes when that's what you're doing year after year with even 10 to 20% growth. Year after year after year, you're doing the same thing. You're going to do it better. This is what's going to happen when you do the same thing. Yep. You're going to do it better, and it's going to take less work of you to do it. There's so many people out there that built the damn thing, and it took all your time and energy to build it. And then when you ran it, you said that wasn't worth it. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze, Mel. And it's like, hold on, you just built it. And the thing that you built, you get to reuse. That's like building a car in your garage, and it took all summer, and you drive it to the bank and back and said that wasn't worth it. It's like, you get a car for the rest of your life now. You can drive it wherever you want, and you just equated all that summer of building it to one trip downtown. Like, that's no, erroneous thinking. You built something that you use again and again and again. And once you build it, you don't need to build it again. You refine it, you improve it, you tune it up, you tweak it, you customize it, you enhance it. And when you do that with a business, it gets bigger, it gets better, it gets more profitable, it gets higher conversions, higher performance, it gets even more fun, and a momentum builds, because as you're producing that consistency, not only is it performing better, but more and more and more people find you. And even if it only grew by 10, which is a very conservative number, I think 10% growth year after year, and you keep that profit margin roughly the same proportionately, you just created something that's going to continue to work to require less work from you, but still bring in that revenue, that income year after year. And like, I look at that and I go, and I don't know if this makes sense, man. I mean, I know that made sense, but like, this next piece is like, I don't look at the need to, I have to go grow my business if I want more money. You know what I look at? I just look at time. I just need more time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's like,
it absolutely makes it, dude. It's the same principle in business as it is in wealth creation. Same thing. Time is our greatest lever. Consistency is our greatest fuel. And it's not the big grand slam home runs. It's the consistent. There's a study out there, 10,000 millionaires, and 30%, 31% of them became a millionaire, and their average earnings was only $100,000, and 1/3 of them never made more than six figures. So we keep swinging for the fences versus, hey, let's get in the game. Let's stay in the game. Let's tweak the game. Let's adjust it for our lifestyle. Let's stay in the process. and allow it to get a life of its own.
Exactly. But then so I say that's where we start looking at the energy of the business owner versus the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is driven by the new, novel, exciting idea. Innovation and creativity, which don't talk about. I mean, that's my jam. I love that. But as soon as the novelty wears off, as soon as it's not passionate anymore or exciting, it's on to the next thing and they're starting over. And there's like really the secret weapon, as we're saying, is that consistency. And if this was just this consistent thing, like if you give this 5 years, and I know that's the only time, not like it's going to take 5 years, but if you're doing this, the same thing you're doing for 5 years and you're growing 10, 20, and a lot of people grow way more than that. And we're seeing people that are like 3 to 5xing their businesses in a year. We just interviewed a client on the podcast. Last year, she had $500 to her name in it, and she has a multi-7-figure business this year. It's like, it's freaking unbelievable. Some of these case studies are coming in. People getting their first $1 million in 2 years. So I'm just talking conservative, like not like you hit a jackpot, accidentally chose the perfect niche and the stars aligned and all of these things in an unreplicatable way. I'm saying like anyone putting something out there that can build a multiple 6-figure that grows consistently over time. Wow. That's just so valuable. And that is, I've been doing this for 16 years. And I look back and I go, that I can't ignore that as the consistency. And I will do an event. I will do a webinar. I'll do a training and I'll say, raise your hand if you ever joined any of my YouTube products like Video Traffic Academy, and 25% of the room hands go up. That was 2011.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? Like, let this blow your mind for a moment. You could be doing something this month in 2023 that causes someone 10 years from now to give you money. That's what I'm talking about. Like people that buy my stuff today because they're like, I bought that program 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It was amazing. I saw something else. It wasn't for me, but I saw this and I knew I had to have it. Wow. These are the unsexy things. You know, they're just, people want to talk about the latest, lamest AI funnel or whatever. Great. That's wonderful. But let's learn how to be a freaking business owner and you will get the lifestyle that is being sold as being an entrepreneur. I guarantee it.
Look, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've obviously not focused just in the online space. I've helped build businesses that are very traditional. One of the companies is founded in the 1880s. Okay, they're 5th generation. We built it up to 300 million this year. You know, so
how old were you? That company was founded. I forget.
Yeah, you know, I was still in diapers when we founded it. I mean, on the board now, I think 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And we built it, back then we were doing about 25 million in revenue, and we're doing 300 now. And
wow,
it's an old time business. It's a traditional business. There's this tremendous amount of overhead and tremendous amount of labor, but the principles are the same. Yep. The beautiful thing for those that are listening, those that are looking at the online space and looking at the digital space and the things that you're doing, is the barriers to entry have never been lower. The access to reach has never been higher. Yeah. And the difference that makes the difference is exactly what you're saying. Getting in the game and consistently staying in the game.
Yeah, because anybody can get in.
Yeah.
Like, show people that you're not just one of those people that I got in because it was easy and someone told me it was quick. And it really like breaks my heart because I see how many of those people are out there that want to do it, but only want to do it if it's quick and easy. And I'm so happy that it's not quick and easy. You know, can it be simple? Can it happen faster than it could even expect it? You frickin' betcha. Will it take something from you? Most likely, yes. Will it give you something that is worth it? 1,000,000%. I mean, I look at without a doubt, and it's like, I cannot help but be consumed by gratitude on a moment by moment basis. And I spent a lot of years struggling, a lot of 5 years of just nothing. I mean, moved back in with mom and dad, had nothing in my name. And then it was 3 years of like 10,000 a year. Like no CPA would even take me because they're like, what's the point, kid? Like you're below poverty line. Like I don't want to waste my time with you. You know, do your own taxes. And now you're making 8 figures. I have 7 properties, more I want to buy. I live in my 5,500 square foot dream house on 2 acres. It was a horse ranch. I don't need all that land, but I liked the house. And in my dream town, I mean, like, and all of that becomes possible. And it was like, I've reached a point in my life, which was a hard thing in a beautiful way. I was like, that went beyond what I thought was even possible when I started. And then you have to kind of create a whole new vision, which, like I said, is more about a purpose driven than just like, oh, stuff I want, you know, more money or something. But, and then that's what allows even more to come in. But it's worth it, especially when you're having fun, you know.
And because with the fun, it doesn't feel like we're gonna, you know, not everything is enjoyable. But if I look at my life, you know, 80%, 85% of the time, I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. I love the people I talk to. I love being able to serve. I love being able to see light bulbs go on. I love to be able to see the dreams coming true, and to know that if there was just a little seed that came from me, then I'm doing what I was put here to do.
Amen.
And I think that's the thing that we ought to really look at. If you want, some of you out there are probably sitting back and saying, I have this yearning, I have this desire, I have this idea, I have this wanting. Well, now's the time to really look at it and say, well, when is there a better time for us to do this? When is there a better time to maybe get some guidance to sit back and say, I'm going to choose the path that I know I'm called to choose, and to find the life that I want to find. I mean, James and I used to be neighbors. He lives in a different town now. He lives in a different environment now. I'm by the water. He's by the mountains. Okay. But it's a life of his choosing. It's a life of my choosing. And we get to live it each and every day. And I don't take it lightly. It's a privilege. It's a blessing. It's an honor, but it was worked for consistently over time. And I don't know, I don't think that anyone is exempt from it. Maybe this is my idealistic view, but even if it's not easy, it is a simple process, but we have to stay in the process. We have to stay in the game, and we have to do the things that business owners do to give us the things that business owners deserve. And part of that is creating value and change and solutions for people, and doing it consistently over time, and then doing the right things to have, call it karma, come back to us in a way that pays us in spades.
Well, it's like if someone came to us and said, Mel, James, I want to get into the best shape of my life, or I want to lose a little bit of extra weight. And we said, okay, every day I want you to do intermittent fasting, so you don't have your first meal until, 6 or 7 hours after you get up. I want to make sure you drink at least 1 gallon of water. And I want you to do interval training, sprinting every other day, and 30 minutes of weight training on those in between days. And you take 1 day off. And we want you to do that every day for 6 months. You could say that is very simple, very clear. I'm able to explain the whole thing. Where it gets hard is those days that you don't want to do it. The days you want to give up. The days where you did give up, and then you got to still try and get back on it the next day. And business is the same thing, where it's actually really freaking stupid simple. This business specifically is stupid simple. And we overcomplicate it, and everyone else overcomplicates it for you. And then it's not a straight line of growth where you're going to meet your match somewhere. We all have our match. For some people, their match that they've met is right at the starting line. Just getting started, just putting it out there. For some, they're like, I'm ready, that's easy. And it's like selling or scaling or getting it to 6 figures or getting it to 7 figures. Everyone's going to meet their match. Everyone's going to have I promise you, you're going to have your opportunity to be humbled and learn some lessons. Where that is, I do not know. You will know it when you see it, but it is inevitable. And the reality is that it is still simple. It becomes hard for everybody at some point, because when anyone does something they've never done before, you're going to have to venture out of your village of safety and familiarity into the forest of the unknown, where you face the treacherous creatures of ambiguity. I don't know what's out here. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what pitfalls and traps and dangers await for me. And that is inevitable, but it's simple. Attract your audience. Sell them what they want. That is the most simple we could ever make.
Get any easier than that?
It does not get any easier. Attract your audience. I mean, Mel's a great example. You know, I always tease him and say, like, you know, if everyone that actually knew you followed you on social media, you'd probably have like 200,000 followers. Yeah. But that he has like 10. And I mean, I'm going to use my sister, because this has been the full circle joyful moment. My sister buys BBD a year ago, or actually the year before. So 2021. She buys BBD. By the way, she buys it, calls me and says, James, I didn't get a welcome email. I don't get access to your program. Like, I didn't get any information. I'm like, hold on, let me get to the bottom of this. Well, the reason she didn't get any information is because I had already gifted her the program like 2 years prior. She had never opened it. She hadn't even watched the freaking welcome video, but she was ready. And she was ready to pay, you know, and that's a really interesting phenomenon with people, especially when it comes to selling. We get in our selling stuff. We have to remember, when people don't pay, they don't pay attention. They don't value free. They don't put skin in the game. They don't have that powerful decision point where they say, I'm in it to win it. And so when I gave it to my sister for free, she didn't do anything with it. When she had to put her own hard-earned money in there, she's like, I'm ready. My sister has still to this day, but then as well, no website. She didn't have a single post on Instagram pertaining to the niche and the topic that she wanted to talk about. So not only did my sister, no email list, obviously, nothing, like literally the most beginning you could start with. No list, no website, no following. She had friends and family on Instagram, and she was talking to her kids and her dog and the occasional, my brother is amazing. No, she never did that. She never, can you believe that? Never posted about that. And
sisters do that all the time.
I know. Gosh. That's it though. She'd never purchased another program, nothing. So she's like, it's so great because she's a purist, you know. A lot of people always go, you know, they hear a story and they go, oh yeah, but you were doing this over here for this. Well, my sister, you can't say that about. She had nothing, nada. And she comes to me as a big brother. I wouldn't coach her. You know, I said, you got to use the program. That's what that's there for. I mean, you can pay me $15,000 and I'll do it one day with you. What a jerky big brother, huh? But hey, you know.
No wonder she's not posting about you.
So she goes, okay, James, I'm going to finally run my beta launch, which is like putting my first version of my product out there. And she goes, honestly, I don't have any audience. I don't have anyone. So my goal is 3. And then she told me later, she goes, yeah, I lied. My goal was 1, but I told you 3. But my real goal was just 1. If I could just get 1 person to join this thing, then that would tell me I got something. And she didn't get 1. She didn't get 3. She got 7. She got 7 people to join her beta program within 2 months of joining. And then about 2 weeks later, she did call me for this one. She goes, I need some advice. Help me. And I go, what's going on? She said, I got a problem. people are hearing about my program and they want in. I'm like, oh,
That's the problem.
that's not a problem. That's called a good thing. She's like, well, what do I do? And I was like, you let them in. Ended up getting 9 people into her program, and every single time she's launched it since it, she keeps doubling her numbers. And she's a mom of 2, no business experience. She was also homeschooling her kids and was the primary caretaker for my father as he was sick and passing. And I mean, it's like, it's hard to use my sister as a case study because there's always someone who's going to be like, yeah, you probably did it all before. I did not.
I could attest to that.
I definitely did not. And I'm like, no, I'm going to treat you. I mean, you're my sister, so I'll be there as your brother, but as a business coach, I'm going to work with you the same way I do with my clients. And like, you don't get special treatment. And she followed the process and she did it. And part of it was like, and she's like this inspiring, people just like love her, because sometimes it's just about getting started. Sometimes it's about getting that car built so that we know we can drive it. And when you get a paying client, you got proof that you got something that's working. And wherever we are is where we are, and we're just here to take the next step. And she sent me these texts that were just like, she'd get off these calls coaching her clients, and she's like, this is the happiest I've ever been. It's like, don't tell my husband or my kids, but like, I feel more lit up, more fulfilled. And this is just the most incredible experience. Like, I'm doing what I'm here to do. And I'm like, well, me receiving that text is like, that's me doing what I'm here to do. Because I think there's a lot of helpers out there. A lot of people that have like a really amazing message, or they really want to help people. And I like to say that my purpose is I'm here to help the helpers. And I just think they're great at what they do, and they're not great at being known for what they do. So they tend to be pretty bad at marketing and running the business that houses all of that. And I got really good at those. I just got, you mess up enough over the years and you figure a thing or two out. And that's really what I want for people, is like, if you learn how to run a business the right way, it will change your quality of life. One thing we say over and over again inside the Rise of the Digital CEO, inside Business by Design, is the more structure you put in the business, the more freedom you get back in your life. The more structure, the more consistency, the more planning. I have a big post coming out on this. And the post goes something to this effect. I wonder how much more money you will make when you plan more. These are the unsexy things to business. People get in this reactive, urgent cycles where they aren't looking at their numbers, they're not strategic, and they're not planning. They go, I need some money. And so they just like flap something together. They try to do something really fast, really reactively. And guess what happens when you do things reactively? It always falls shorter of what you hoped. And now you're really screwed, because it falls shorter than what you hoped, which means you have to do it again and you need more money. So you reactively, and you get stuck in this cycle and you can't get out of it, when it's the very thing that you're doing is causing and perpetuating to stay in it. I see people, that's where they burn out, and that's where they burn their business to the ground. When we do the things that we do, I just noticed now, and it just gets me so fired up, and I'm so passionate about it, that like we just do things so differently. You do it too. Here's an example. You're in the same mastermind as me, and one of the things we ask people is they go, hey, put your launch dates in this like group board so we can all support each other during launch time. Don't think I didn't notice, but you were the only one. We did this in Q1. You were the only person that had a launch date beyond Q1. You had one for Q3. No one else had Q2, maybe the first month of Q2, but no one had like June, July, definitely didn't have August, let alone September, nothing past there. Did you notice that when you did?
I did notice that. But, it's funny. It's the way I'd run my life. I look at things in a 12-month cycle. I know what my numbers are. Like I was just talking to my wealth team today, because they were talking about a tax strategy. And I said, we can't do it. And he says, why? I said, because let me tell you what my numbers are going to be this year. And he goes, so our tax rates are going to be way too high to try and use this strategy. And he goes, wow. He says, you know that? And I go, I know that. I mean, I know it. You know, I can see it. And so you got to put it on the calendars. You got to put it in the game. You got to plan it out. And because dear friend of mine, Bo Eason, said to me once, he said, schedule your fears. And when you place your fears on a schedule, your mind starts to work to deal with the fears. Your body starts to make decisions. Your heart starts to move forward. But once we put it on the calendar, no matter what it is, things have to start to align to stay congruent with a commitment and a declaration you made. And so that's why I do it.
It's kind of like a slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put your rock or your marble in the slingshot, we know the further back you pull it, the further this thing's gonna go. That's just the law of, physics here.
Yeah.
In action. So the same becomes true. Mel has a big promotion in September. So he has pulled back. The longer using the metaphor here, the longer you plan something out, the more you stretch and pull back our slingshot, which means it's going to go further. So why is that? Well, let me give real freaking examples. Mel, who is just speaking at an event, probably all these other speakers and great people he's networking with, can start building relationships now with people that could become strategic partners. He could start networking with them even on ideas now that could go towards his launch then. He could be doing things with his audience now that starts to build up the anticipation and the momentum. And that builds. We are T-minus 29 days away from the kickoff of my annual launch. And that date is on the calendar for a whole year. And like we plan it days after it's done, we're already choosing the next date, right? So there were things that I was doing in January for it, and February and March. But now, as I was telling Mel, I was like, oh man, we are like picking up this crazy momentum. And it's that crazy momentum that could not be there if I just started it right now. And I'm like, I think I'm going to sell something in 30 days, or I think I'm going to do something in 2 weeks. Like, and I'm not, you have to choose wherever you are in your journey of like, I'm not saying like decide you're going to sell something and wait a year before you do it, because that's not what I said. But if you don't give yourself enough time to plan and it's just reactive, like I need something now, you've already set yourself up for failure 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Like the reactiveness doesn't, like no one got their acceptance speech. And I was like, I'm so glad I was reactive, rushed, got in my head and acted out of fear. That's the reason I'm here today, and I was talking to someone else about this, and it's like if we look at things in terms of energy, like, you get around someone and you kind of feel their vibe. And when I'm around people, I'm always, especially the entrepreneurs, and they're telling me about their business or I'm coaching them, I'm always trying to get just a vibe of who they are. And there's this certain type, and I don't mean this disrespectfully or judgmentally. I have to give examples here. It seems to always kind of be up in the air. And they're always just kind of like bouncing around from whatever is, it's almost like a dog and you just put the shiny little thing in front of it and it's just like, boom. And those are the type that sadly, they just plateau pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And they can't, for whatever reason, seem to grow beyond that. But they're the busiest. I mean, I get tired watching them. I'm like, I'm exhausted just listening. I almost started crying once when this person told me the amount of work they have on their plate, and my heart just like ached. I was like, it sounds like you're doing 17-hour days or something. And they're like, yeah, about like 15. And do you take days off? Like, no, I don't, I can't. And they're at like a $300,000, $400,000 a year. And I'm like,
yeah,
hey, like I'm going to cry for you. That just sounds awful. And it's always this next thing or the latest, greatest. And there's so many weird counterintuitiveness to being a great business owner that will give you a great business. Great businesses are built, by great business owners, being a great business owner. And there's so much counterintuitive. Like, you have to say no way more than you say yes.
Yep.
You have to move slower. All these things are like and I say this, I'm quite the contrarian, as Mel knows. Like, I ruffle feathers, not because I want to, but because I have some things to say that just are opposing that identity. So like, when I say you need to slow down, if you want to be a better business owner, slow down. The fastest way to speed up is to slow down. The entrepreneur hates that. They're all about quick start, do it today, but there's such an intentionality, as you were saying. There's such a calculated presence and the tortoise. I had a mutual friend of ours, mastermind client, text me today. This makes me so happy. And this is what they sent me. Because I actually talked to her and I said, you are an example of this quintessential business owner archetype that I know that this type will always be successful. We can always be this type. It's a choice. It's not like it's hardwired and you're fixed, right? And she said to me today at 5:53 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so it was like literally an hour before we started recording, James, got an update. We just passed 500,000 in cash collected for the year. And it's May.
Yeah.
You got $1 million business. This is amazing. And the emoji, do you want to know guess the emoji, Mel? Guess the emoji they put after this. It made me so happy. And it spoke volumes. What do you think?
Probably the party emoji.
That's what you'd think. They sent me the turtle.
The turtle. Oh man.
The turtle.
Yeah, it's true.
One or the other. It's slow and steady. Run wins the race. And there's a time and place for everything,
Yeah.
I want you to get it to market. But that's because if you're in your head and you're overthinking things, you're going to be wasting time and energy. But if you're not in your head and you're calculated and you're present and you're strategic, you're doing something over and over again. There's a slide I share at my live events that people still to this day comment and saying this is the most impactful visual I've ever seen you share. And it's the history of Business by Design.
Yeah.
I program. Mel was there when I started it. And in that very first iteration of it, 2016, it did $18,000. And it was just a small little beta thing I was doing. I just made a little bit of money. And then I said, okay, now
he didn't even have a name for it.
I didn't. The name was James Wedmore's super awesome, sexy beta program.
Yep.
So, there was, don't get me wrong, like there's that leap and the net will appear, build your wings on the way down kind of mentality. But then it's like, stay the course. And I showed on a graph the trajectory of this and how it continued to grow, but it took 3 years. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was like 250 launched. The next one was 250. Then it was 500. Then another one was 500. And then it was like 600. I was doing well. But then all of a sudden, like 2.5, 3 years, it just hockey sticks. And all of a sudden, 4 million, 5 million, 5.7, 6. And that happened at 3 years. And I know it's so stupidly cliche, but you've seen those little memes of the guy who stops digging for gold.
Yes.
Feet or inches before he strikes it rich. And you're probably doing the same thing. You give up on your idea. You give up on the thing that you're working towards when you don't understand that thing takes time to turn it into what it's meant to be. That's why you created it in the first place. So you had a vision, you started it, and then you give up on the vision, and it's never going to come to its full fruition,
Well, and not to get too esoteric, but I think part of that process is because it requires you to become who you need to be to have it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
You have to grow into the business owner, the entrepreneur that is required of you to have that level of success.
Well, if that's too esoteric, then people are really screwed, because to me, that is like the biggest secret. I say that the average person, well, what we like us entrepreneurs and business owners call the normies. The normies out there, most of them don't have goals. That's really sad. I lived a large part of my life not really having goals either, so I really get that. It was like live for the weekend or a day off or that dream about the next vacation or whatever. No judgment, totally fine. Then you read a few books like the 4-Hour Work Week, and you're like, I'm going to start a business, and you start having goals, and you create a vision board, or you write it down somewhere, everywhere you're going to see it, and that's amazing. Here's what no one freaking taught me all those years ago that I wish someone had shooken me by the shoulders, because it's just so stupid simple. It's more of this stupid simple that I love, right? Because I want to keep it simple. The moment you create a goal, what you're doing with a goal is you're saying, this is what I want. So to want something is a simultaneous acknowledgement that you don't have it. So if you don't have it, you haven't done what you've needed to do the right way in order to have it. That's why we want it, because we don't have it. And we don't have it because we haven't done it. Okay? So there's an acknowledgement that you don't, which means there's also an acknowledgement that you don't know how to do it. Otherwise, you would have done it and you would have it. Because experience is the only true giver of knowledge. A concept in your head, I can read 5 books on how to swim or how to write a book. That doesn't mean I know how to swim or ride a bike. Until I'm doing it and experiencing it, I don't actually know. And the same goes for all of us. So the stupid, simple process is, as soon as you know what you want, you must know what the thing that you want wants from you, or rather needs from you. And
I love that.
You live into that changes everything. So I want to build $1 million business. Great. And this is another thing. This came up before. People ask, like, what's realistic? And I go, we got to screw realistic, because really anything is possible. You want to say, I want to go to 0 to $1 million in 1 year in my first year in business. That is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, possible. But the plan and what it's going to take and what it would require of you to get to 0 to $1 million in your first year of business is probably something you're unwilling to do.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, would you be willing to spend $250,000 in ads to like build the brand, get the name out there and build a list? No. Then there you go, right? So I don't have $250,000. Great. Then you're going to have to use another resource. But going back to this, you say, I want to build $1 million business. You go, great. What does $1 million, and I'll bring it down. Again, I'll do the lower version. So it's like, maybe that's too high for some. What does $1 million business require of me? What does $1 million business need? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to be doing differently? What value do I need to be delivering? What else does it need to make this possible? When you start asking those questions, and actually, like, you have to kind of sit in the unknown of, I don't know those.
Yeah.
Know that once you can move past the uncomfortable of I don't know, because our teachers told us growing up that not knowing the answer is bad. But not knowing the answer means you're in a receptive state. That's where you get to like daydream a little bit. That's where the magic is. So you just take it down to 100K. You're at 0. You just started your business yesterday. What does 100K year business look like? What does it need from me? What do I need to do? What do I need to let go of? How does the digital CEO of that business operate? And let that and the answers to those questions begin to guide you. Otherwise, if that's not guiding you, then guess what? The person making $0 that wants $100,000 business is guiding the direction of the business. That person, no disrespect, has no clue how to do it, because, like we already acknowledged, they've never done it before. So
right.
Let a person who has only created a $0 business make all the decisions for a 100K business. That ain't ever going to happen. And this is why that gap eludes people for so long. At every level, I had to change the way I looked at things. I had to change my thinking. I had to change where I spent my time. I just changed like my identity and where my value went and what I worked on, what I said yes to, what I said no to, how I made decisions, all of it. And that's what allowed me to continue growing. So it's simple, but again, it goes back to what we were saying before. It doesn't mean it's easy.
This is such a beautiful perspective. And we're using it as business, as business right now. But imagine, the viewers, the listeners, imagine if you did that in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
What does the relationship need? What does my health need? What does my family need? And we start to come at it from that perspective. Can you imagine the richness that we create, not only in the business, but in our lives? It's a wonderful perspective.
Change your lives. Because it's our ego that gets us so rooted in like this myopic, all of us are guilty of this to some degree because we all have an ego. This myopic, like I'm the center of the universe kind of mentality of like more me. Why don't I have me? So that perpetuates, what do I need? I don't have this. I focus on what I don't have, but what I need, and here's my problems, and I need solved, and me. And these questions force you out of that and really disassociate you from the current situation to say, what does this thing need from me? Or what does it just need? It doesn't need to be from you. I could sit there and say,
Yeah.
what is a $10 million your business? It needs an amazing marketing director, an amazing marketing team. It might be up to me to go hire that team, but it doesn't need it to come from me. You need to look at your business like it is this entity that has no voice. It cannot speak up. So you are the liaison, you are the advocate, you are the caretaker. And if you don't tend to its needs, no one else will. So if you don't know what it needs, you can't tend to its needs. And if you can't give it its needs, it ain't going to give you what you want.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, is with anything in life. Everyone says they want to be in a loving, incredible relationship, marriage. Everyone says they want to find their soulmate, but it's a rare person that says, what does this person need from me? What does this relationship need from me in order to make it extraordinary? And everything is a give and take. And so people come to me and they say, James, part of my fear and hesitation and what comes up is I'm worried. I am afraid I don't have what it takes. And I say, do you want this business? And they say, yes. And I say, you really want it? Like what we were talking about before, like this isn't your parents' dream. This is what you want, right? And they say, yes. And I say, if the desire was born from it within you, I can promise you, I can guarantee you, I can say with absolute conviction and certainty, you have what it takes. It's simply a matter of if you're willing to give what it takes. And what it takes a lot of, my friends, what it takes a heck of a lot of is letting go. Any process of growth is a process of letting go. A lot of people think it means I'm going to need to work more. Well, you're going to need to let go of the belief that you have to work more to make more. A lot of people think it means more stress. Well, you have to let go of all your control issues. You have to let go of all your perfectionism. You have to let go of the fear of making a mistake or failing or getting it wrong or worrying about people judging you or perceiving you, or it's going to change everything in my life when I'm successful. My family's going to hate me. You have to let all that go to let in the thing that you want. That's the process. And when people say, what is it going to take? And I say, it's going to probably take letting go of the things that you've been holding on to near and dear and very tightly. And that's where we can say it's simple, but it becomes hard. We make it hard.
Yeah.
It's hard by our own choosing.
Yeah. This is so good. Now and we could talk for days, and we usually do, but I mean, because here's the thing, you're actually going to go deeper on some of this. You're going to work through some of the mind stuff, some of the system stuff, some of the processes, what it takes to truly, whether you're at 0, whether you're at 100,000, whether you're at 1 million, what it takes to become the business owner, the digital CEO that you need to be to have the success that you envision and beyond. And it's a special kind of training that you're doing that's absolutely free, coming up soon, called The Rise of the Digital CEO. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Tell them about it, because y'all, if you have any desire to kind of walk this path, if you have any desire to create an additional income stream, do you have any desire to accelerate your path to wealth, this is the journey to be on, because a digital business is one of the highest margin businesses that you're ever going to find on earth.
And it's the most fulfilling, fun, rewarding type of business you could possibly do. And I've said this before to you, that I think the greatest asset we could ever acquire is that of a personal brand. And you just look at some of these people like the Bezos and the Musks of the world, and love them or hate them is irrelevant. You know who they are. And whatever they go touch tomorrow turns to gold. And it turns to gold because they created a name for themselves. And no one ever sat there and said, what a mistake it was to build a personal brand where more people got to know me for something and built a relationship with me. You take that with you wherever you go. So I've been doing this for 16 years. Today, we have a business that has consistently been doing 8 figures year after year. And I do this training once a year that tends to piss off what people call quote unquote competitors, because I do things a little differently in my world. Like basically what is in people's paid programs that you pay like $2,000 for is what I just give for free in the free training. And there's a few reasons why I do that. One is because I do have a paid program, and my paid program is less just a bunch of course videos of watching more information. And it's more the Lego instruction manuals, the step-by-step processes, the SOPs, and the execution guides for actually running the business. So in the free training, basically, here's what I'm going to do. If my business was a car, then the first thing we'd do is pop open the hood, and I'd show you how it runs and what we do in there. And it's a very healthy business that is run. There's only 8 of us. And it gives us not just like the fun and the fulfillment, but a lot of free time as well. And it's because we do things very differently than most people and how we run it. And that includes how we create our offers and how we sell them. So this is an invitation to anyone who is or has that itch to be the online expert, the personal brand, and monetize any type of digital product. We're going to help you plug in the business model for making that happen. This is where we end the game of let me chase the latest gimmick, the latest funnel wizoo, whatchamacallit, that is promising you to make $1 million by tomorrow. And this is really for those that are like, I am serious about actually building a business around this, not just a quick cash grab and then I'm going to flee to Mexico or something like that. This is a call to the real businesses, or at least desire to be the real business. And I'm going to show you how to build something real and sustainable. And it's actually way easier, in my opinion. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
Different, not harder, and makes things better. The more structure you put in your business, the more freedom you get in your life. The other phrase you're going to get to hear a lot from me and really discover is the reason you are plateauing, the reason you are overworked, the reason you are not getting the results that you want despite the effort is because of a very simple business truth. The role that you fill in your business will determine the results that you receive. So we're going to take a good hard look at what role you've been filling, what roles you've been avoiding, and what roles are required of your business at the phase it is. Your business is in one of 4 phases. There's a big reason why a lot of the advice you're getting is either bad advice or isn't working for you. And it's because business growth happens in stages. And so what can be great advice in one stage is awful in another. And if you don't understand what stage you're in, you don't know what advice is good and what is bad. So that's kind of one of the most blessing part of what I do is I literally, like I said at the beginning of this, I work with someone who just started their business yesterday, and I have people that come into business by design and work with us that are at, $2+ million. How is that possible? Because everything that we do is designed about identifying what phase that you are in and then plugging in the structure and the processes and the systems required for that phase with one simple intention, get you to the next phase. So we're going to cover all of that. Again, it rivals the paid courses that a lot of people are buying. And it's an intense live 3-part mega series, but I really say it's just for the people that are serious. And I hope you are, because I had to get real serious. You talk about that current of society and parents and upbringing. I felt like I had to paddle upstream for 4 years before I could create my own current, my own stream. I don't want that to be 4 years for any of you. This is what I wish I had when I got started, that I had to figure out the hard way, and I wanted to shortcut that success. A lot of what drives me today is if I can get anyone like that, like we were saying, that hard work and that struggle, we have to honor that. But if I can shorten that for you, if that can be the next 6 months or a year of your life, and not 4.5, 5, with the ever accumulating doubt that amplifies and goes exponential of maybe this isn't ever going to work, until the point where that overcomes you and you just give up. We don't ever want it to get that far. We gotta shortcut you through that. That's what it's aimed to do. It's called the Rise of the Digital CEO. We kick off June 1st.
I will make sure that we hook up the links in the show notes. I will be there live
In person.
behind the scenes with James. And I'll get you all the schedule, everything, so you can get access to it. It's free. Here's the deal. It's going to take time. It's going to take focus, but it's going to take you to a whole new level. I hope you join me. I hope you join James, because I've watched this training. I've been part of the training for many, many years now. And it doesn't matter how many times I go through it, there's always a new aha. There's always a new perspective, and there's always a new shift that I can take away from it. And if I can do that after as many years as I've been doing this, you can too. So click the link that we have in the show notes, get yourself registered, grab a spot, and make sure that you join us live, and I'll be there to help you along in the process. So, James, my friend, any last words before we say see you later? Not goodbye, see you later, because I'm going to see you later. And as we go on our way in this episode, at least.
I don't have any other words other than what was already said, but now really is your time, because now is all that we have. And as much as it feels like there's stuff and all the reasons why not, none of that changes until you decide to do it now. And I'm so glad I figured that out, because like the perfect metaphor is you're planting seeds every day. Your decisions, your actions, your habits, your behaviors, you're planting seeds. What you grow, and if it even bears fruit, is totally up to you. And I look at things I was doing a decade ago that bear the fruit that it has today. So why we would ever delay or hesitate or put anything like our purpose or our goals or our dream business on hold, escapes me. So now is the time. And I think people over the last few years and the challenges they've seen and the uncertainty of old traditional paradigms falling away, more and more people are waking up to, I need to be doing my own thing. And I could not agree more. And I think those that are in a virtual digital space that can transcend time and location and all that type of stuff, we're just in the most perfect spot. And more people are going to figure that out. So you better be one of the sooner rather than later folks. So now is absolutely the time. So come join us, and we'll have a ton of fun. I promise you that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Dude, man, always a joy to hang with you and chat. And I think I'll be seeing you in a handful of weeks out there in
That's right.
Yeah. In Scottsdale and Phoenix, and at the Rise of the Digital CEO and everything. So thanks, buddy, for joining me, and always fun.
See you, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers.